Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Iowa soccer supporters. I'm Ben Brackett, your Soccer Talk co-host, alongside my good buddy Blake Siebers. Siebes, how are you?
I'm great. I love a good little Easter Sunday pod.
That's right. Don't forget, it's Passover today as well. So, Matt, you guys had the day off over there at Dowling. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, weekend off. We've been off Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And we haven't played since Tuesday, so nice little break. Or I'm sorry, we haven't played since Monday. Mm-hmm. So we've had a nice little break. We play again against Centennial on Tuesday and then Johnston Friday. So it's gonna kick back up into gear here, but it's been a nice little break.
Well, welcome back to the pod, Matthew Sahig, the Titan tactician. We had a nice little outing yesterday. Unfortunately, we were only two-thirds there. We were missing Mr. Siebers, but had a nice little game of the week over at Tiger Stadium, which is at Valley High School, not Valley Stadium, which is sort of the off-campus football stadium. It was a nice little intimate atmosphere. What'd you think?
I like it a lot. I mean, I thought, Blaine, were you going to say something, Blake?
I was just saying, is it the game of the year? Sorry, boys. So we talked a little bit about this. I wasn't there, so I kind of surprising you guys with this, but to me, it's got to be the game of the year so far.
It's certainly in the conversation, right? Because it was we saw the Ankeny Hawks play against the Ames High Little Cyclones. Ames had not given up a goal all year. They were undefeated. They knocked off the Valley Tigers and the Johnson Dragons, who you never really know, because you haven't seen everybody play. It's early in the season, but like those are perennially strong contenders for the state tournament. And then you had Ankeny, who boasts one of the probably best players in the state, Drake commit, Landon Benge, senior number 9. So there's just a lot of talking points. And what did Coach Fuccio say? He said he thought it was going to be 0-0 after about 10 minutes, and it was 0-0 after 10 minutes, but it ended up 6-4 to the Hawks, and it was a shocking back and forth game. And when you talk about game of the year, yeah, maybe. I mean,
it's got to be 10 goals and like back and forth, like you said.
And it wasn't like a bad game. It was a good game.
Yeah, I love it. All right, let's hear it, Titan.
Well, based on your comments in the first pod where you were very upset there were no chances and hardly any goals, it was interesting that you missed this one, but probably fitting. So to answer your question, though, Ben, about the setting, the setting is awesome. In fact, I like soccer in that stadium way better than I like it at the Valley Stadium just down the road. It just feels like more like a soccer game. When you put 100 fans at Valley Stadium, it just feels like the atmosphere's not as good as when you have a little more intimate stadium. And it's a really nice place to play. It's right outside the school. I think it'd be great if they just played there all the time. So it's nice.
Well, quick, since we mentioned Drake commit Landon Benge, we'll also give a shout out to the Drake men's soccer staff and specifically Coach Pat Flynn for hooking us up with a VO camera for the game so we could get footage. Super helpful. And we've been talking all this positive stuff about Huddle, but man, that VO camera is pretty slick.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty awesome. We got to watch it in person, and then it downloads straight to the camera, and then you can pull it up, and it's already got AI technology where it clips out all the goals for you and the shots too. So you can pretty much toggle through the entire game within minutes and find all the highlights. It's pretty cool.
Well, since we were without Blake, it also allowed Blake the opportunity to check through the game. And what'd you think, Blake?
Again, like if you can't be happy with 10 goals, there's something wrong, because what an absolute thriller when it does.
If you're a goalkeeper, you probably don't love that, or maybe you're a defender, you don't love it.
Yeah, and I think there's some reasons why it was that high scoring. Well, there's definitely reasons why, but I think that there is some background info that we were talking to Gow about, Ames's coach, about after the game. So Ames, this game was played at 9:30 in the morning on Saturday the 19th. The night prior, Ames had played away in Marshalltown on a 7:30 start. So they hopped on the bus late in the evening, went to Marshalltown, grinded out a 1-0 victory. I don't think he went too deep into the bench. So they didn't get home probably till 10:30 or 11 o'clock. sleep in your own bed, wake up, and you got to be at Valley Stadium now, traveling from Ames.
You're probably on the bus at 7.
Right. So up easily at 6. I mean, if they're anything like me, I mean, anytime I would play in a night game, like I can't get to bed till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, right? Because you're all amped up. So probably not much sleep for those guys. They turn it around. They play at 9:30 in the morning against Ankeny, who, as we've discussed, has one of the best players in the state. And
it was a good squad overall.
Yeah, and then they also had to play Dowling then at 4 o'clock. So that's a tall task for the Ames boys. And I thought they would, we can talk quite a bit about the game. And, I think they had a pretty good showing against Dowling. They lost. But it was a tough day for those guys in a couple of games. But the way it was scheduled made it all but impossible for those guys to probably get wins. But I would assume there's some moral victories in terms of how they look at things based on the day when they played 2 of the best teams in the state. They were in both games. In Ankeny, the game in particular, they could have easily given up when it was 3-0 because it was at one point in time. They could have given up when it was 4-1, but they literally willed themselves back into the game to 4-4 and just had
They ran out of gas at that point.
Yeah, ran out of gas and just had a huge mental error on the corner kick that made it 5-4. So I hope those guys don't get their heads down or put their heads down too much. I think that the rest of the state should probably be on notice. I wouldn't count Ames out by any stretch of the imagination. They beat 2 tough teams, and they came in on. I mean, you're going to play 3 full games on 24 hours, less than 24 hours notice, and you hang in there. I mean,
a well-rested Ames, and now later in the season, a little more experienced Ames is probably going to be a tricky opponent.
Well, it's not going to get much easier for Ames because they've got Roosevelt coming up, they got Lincoln coming up, they got Hoover coming up, which the DMPS schools kind of think they've turned the corner right a little bit historically. Like they all think I think they're pretty good, which they are. Mm-hmm. I think from what we've heard and seen.
We need to see some results though to cover back.
Yeah, and then they got Centennial as well, and Norwalk perennial power. So it doesn't get easier for the little Cyclones.
And it's not like these are spaced out games either. I mean, they're turning around. They play Tuesday again. I think they play Tuesday, Friday. They play 2 games the following week too. So
and Saturday again. So it's Tuesday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, right. So they are in a grind from here on out. So it'll be interesting to see how they do.
What do we think about these invitationals or tournament weekends, just as on the whole? Like, and these weren't abbreviated games, right? They were playing the full, 80 minutes. A couple teams maybe played Friday night, or Saturday morning, but for the most part, teams were playing 2 games Saturday, and if they had anything else, they were getting 3 games in that 2 days. It's crazy.
Well,
although we did it, so it's not like it's not. Like it's something that's never happened.
Yeah, I like the invitationals. I think 2 games is fine. I mean, maybe you bring maybe a bigger squad and you make a little bit more of a squad game, maybe. But, I mean, when you're playing 2 tough teams, you can't really go very deep into the bench. I think 3 is probably – or I think 3 is too much. But 2 games in a day, I mean, I think you can do that. And I think, though, it probably depends on what you've had earlier in the week, too.
Yeah.
So I don't think you can do this back-to-back
how deep your squad
weekends.
is, too. I mean, I think that's part of it is if you're only going to play 13 guys, 2 games back-to-back is tough. But if you're going to use the full team.
Right.
I mean, there were some decent schools coming in, right?
I was going to say, let's run through that quick.
Well, I'll just say one more thing about that, though. I mean, they played Marshalltown, who's good, like last night, right? And then, it would be one thing if they played a tough game on Friday, kind of had an easier match in the morning, and then followed it up with Dowling in the afternoon, or Ankeny in the afternoon, however it went. But, I mean, they had 3 tough games in a row. And I just think physically it's almost too much to ask for the players. But at the same time, there were some really simple things that I think that led to a lot of these goals against Ankeny. And maybe that is fatigue, or maybe it's just they're still dealing with some organizational issues and some decision making.
Ankeny played Lindmar Friday night as well and won 3-0 in the Valley Invite. So they also played Friday night. But again, the bus is there's a lot of
and they
they
only played the 2 games. Then they played Friday night, Saturday.
Yeah, I was more just talking about their body of work on the weekend because you could. I mean, again, that's a fair point. Ankeny played Friday night, but those guys had to play Ankeny and then followed up with Dowling.
Yeah, that's no fun. Although, you should point out, right, Siebes, that Ankeny, that was a pretty good weekend for them, though, right? Friday night, big win on 3-0 against Linmar, turn around and beat, maybe the top team in the state.
Yeah, I mean they were undefeated, right? Up
Yeah.
to the time, hadn't given up a goal, and then they put 6 past them.
So before we talk about all the action, should we just talk about what other teams came down to, or do you want to talk about those results quick, Blake? Or am I putting you on the spot?
You are a little bit.
We'll come back to it then. Let's talk about the Ankeny Ames game, and you get yourself all teed up, all right? Play it on the fly. So Matt, we got the VO set up after a couple minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes in the game, and it was pretty. Ames looked like they had it under control. They were pretty tight defensively, organized, and Ankeny didn't look like there was a whole lot of rhythm to their attack.
Right. It literally did look like two teams who had just played the night before.
Yeah.
I think in 10 minutes. And I remember after the first goal got scored, I turned to you and I was like, wow, I was just about to tell you this looks very pedestrian. Because it was. I mean, there weren't many runs. Players were just kind of moving and passing. Of course, the teams were sitting off and they weren't playing high pressure, which makes a lot of sense. But it felt like it was going to be a pretty stale game.
Agreed. And then kind of opens up with I thought it was a pretty good little goal from, I'm just trying to pull up his name, number 10. Is it Cal? I'm going to get there. I think it's, Cal Wahlberg, the number 10. He's a junior. And, like the only thing that's wrong with the goal is if I'm an Ames coach or defender, I'm probably frustrated because Cal gets about 10 touches in the box before he turns and stabs home a pretty nice finish.
Yeah. Right.
So from him, awesome. Like great player, great play. If I'm Ames, I'm not happy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think it was. I counted. It was more than 10. I think it was 10 to 12 touches, but it was a really good. Really good piece of skill actually.
Absolutely.
Like when we watched, I think when we were initially watching it, I think my comment was, "Wow, I mean, how do you let a guy take that many touches?" But when I look back at it on video, I mean, he cut some guys up pretty good, backwards and forwards. And then when he finally does cut back, he finds this little window, and he just kind of turns and puts it right off the post into the left corner.
And he doesn't like smash it; he just kind of pokes it like it's a great finish.
Goalkeeper doesn't have a chance; can't really see it
right off the post.
And then he just kind of and then he just very casually goes and celebrates his goal. It was a good piece of footwork by him. I mean, I just think anytime that you're defending and you allow someone with 12 touches into the box and then a free shot at goal, you're probably going to go, should have been better defending. Yeah,
for sure. And I think, shortly thereafter, Landon Benge makes it 2-0. And it's sort of a classic striker type goal where he's checking to the ball, ball comes in, but it's head height, right? So like it's looking like he needs to flick it on, but he judges it quickly. He sort of like uses his body to bring the defender with him, and then he peels off and says, "See you later." That guy misjudges the ball, flicks it on to Landon Benge. Landon's in on goal. Very Fernando Torres-like, scoops it over the goalkeeper, keeps his balance after the keeper tries to take him down, and then finishes it. Good goal. And 2-0, I was thinking, man, this game's over.
Yeah. Yeah, I think my observation about Ames was that there were too many moments where Benge was 1-versus-1 or looked like he was isolated against one Ames player. This particular one
in this
was
one,
a little bit different.
He has cover here.
It's a little bit different, but I'm just saying, like, he was getting chances and looks where he's the guy, like, he would just kind of hang out, right? When the ball would go back into the attacking half for Ames, he would walk back and he would stay blindside of the strikers.
Yeah.
And then he would shift to the right and shift to the left. And it would be, I think he was just hoping that they would forget about him. And so oftentimes
it seemed like they did.
Yeah. And so he was 1-versus-1. So on this particular goal, I think, they had cover. I think the covering was too close. So the ball gets played in long, like you said, and there's pressure on the ball, and the first defender just misjudges it. The problem is the second defender is that if you watch closely,
he takes like 3 or 4 steps back, right?
Yeah, and he's
Maybe
also
5.
he's also ducking to win the header.
Yeah.
So they're both actually think they're going to have the ball, and Benj just turns and runs, and it's actually a great flick on by the defender, unfortunately for him. And then Benj does the rest. Goalkeeper, I think I would have liked this. I don't know. He was too far away. He probably did well just to pull up, because if he makes any more contact, or if Benj would have gone down there, Benj actually keeps his balance well. If he goes down, that's red. But he gets up and he just passes it in the back of the net.
I just love his natural instinct, it looked like, right? It was over his head, so he couldn't do anything. So he just literally
gambled.
turns and runs.
Yeah.
I'm like, I love that a little bit. Take a risk because you're not going to do anything else, and look what happens.
Well, so since we're talking about Benj, and then he sort of creates the next goal here after the coming up. The one thing, like if I was going to criticize Benj, and I'm going to give him some constructive suggestions of just trying to shoot more often, right? We talked about like how often he got himself free. If he got himself free every time he touched the ball, he only shot it on goal like 3 out of 5 times maybe, or 4 out of 5 times, which like he also still created an opportunity. He'd lay it off to somebody or whatever. But I just feel like he's a stud, and he should have that instinct to just be like, you know, I could probably score 6 goals today. But I don't think that's a criticism. That's just some encouragement.
Well, there were 2 opportunities that we noticed when he was inside the 18-yard box, and the decision was pass or shoot, and he chose to pass.
Yeah.
So,
and I think I would love to see him choose shoot instead.
Yeah. The other thing is, I mean, the most of the time when we see him threatening, it's when it's getting in behind players. So it's not as much receiving at feet and then turning and actually shooting on the dribble or shooting from in the 18-yard box. We see him like running onto the ball and scoring. So maybe that's just a different sort of aspect or element of his game that he can add to it. But I agree. There was one in particular. He's inside the 18-yard box, and it's not a great angle. But if you're the striker and you've already got
A goal to your name.
And lots of goals in the air. I mean, you're shooting that every time, and he kind of passes it, squares it across the 18-yard box, and it's a missed chance.
Well, I talked to Coach Flynn as I was struggling to upload that VO the first time through, and we were just chatting a little bit, and he's really excited about Benj, and I think he should be. And I think that the Drake staff has shown if you give him somebody like an attacking talent, somebody like Preston Knipsu, who stud but a little raw, and then you see what he did last year as a freshman at Drake. And if I'm Landon, I'm excited to go to Drake.
It'd be a good pairing if they play with 2 up front. I mean, I don't know how Pat and Kyle are going to set the team up, but I mean, I like that pairing. Strong target player with somebody running off them.
I hate to play against them.
That first goal we just talked about, that actually placed Knipsu in that spot,
right? And
he's flicking it onto Benj. It's the exact same goal, except it's not flicked on by a defender.
Yeah. So let's talk about that third goal, which is sort of it's Benj's. It goes down as Benj's second, which we'll have a chat about that. But it's another one where there's some decent little build up, right? And then basically Benj gets played through on goal, shoots it. The goalie makes a decent little save. It kind of bounces off his elbow, hits the crossbar, and there's sort of just like a scramble in front of the goal. Benj gets another touch. Ultimately ends up in the back of the net. Maybe Evan will do some really good camera work, and we'll be able to do a question of like who, is this a goal by Benj or is it an own goal? I think we agree that it's an unfortunate own goal for Ames.
Yeah, it's not going to take good camera work. It's actually very obvious that it's an own goal, but I'm sure we do have some good camera work.
If Benj could assist the own goal, I think it's definitely an assisted own goal.
Yeah.
Is that even possible?
It's a good, I think, piece of play by Ankeny, and then just a bad mistake by then a couple of errors.
Yeah,
by
I wouldn't even
Ames.
call them like a bad mistake. They were just scrambling to try to get the ball of the goal.
Well, I'm talking about even earlier than that.
Oh, sure.
So what happens is back almost in their 18-yard box, Ames intercepts the ball. There's a player who receives it around I'm using the football markings, 15-yard lines. He lays the ball off, spins out. The player right on his back chases the ball, and so it's just a little 1-2 that Ankeny plays, and then this right midfielder gets his head up quick and finds Benj first time, And I think this is where Benj is really good too, is he's using his body weight, and this is where the Ames player makes a mistake. So just over the half line, Benj gets the ball into his feet, and he's able to receive it, or actually just kind of use his body weight to have the Ames guy take a bad touch. But the issue here, I think, for Ames is he's square with his other defender who should be supporting him. And so in this particular scenario as well, this is not a scenario where the defender needs to try and tackle and win the ball, right? So his only job here should be make sure Benj doesn't turn and run. And so if he's off balance and he's not going to absolutely win that tackle and win it in the next direction, all he needs to do is make Benj go backwards.
So that's that number, the 12 for Ames.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, like, yeah, right. So as he goes with Landon there, if he just takes like a step off of him and keeps him there,
that's what I would have done.
But so and you see where Landon Benj picks it's 5 yards inside his attacking half, and he picks up and runs 40 yards, 50 yards, and you know, you talked about earlier like him running into space. This is him, like he spins his guy and then he shakes another guy and creates a great goal scoring opportunity that unfortunately for Ames, like we said, they put in their net. But
right, I mean, the decision to tackle is a bad decision by Ames, and then the supporting defender, he's square when the tackle is made, and then he just doesn't get across and actually support. And Benj actually has the Ames guy has a 10-yard start. He then tries to just sort of steer him wide, but Ben just runs past him and shoots, and then Ames puts it in the back of the net.
So it's like a 3-0. There's not much time left, and we're sort of thinking like, man, is it time to go get some coffee and call it a day? But then Ames just claws one back, makes it 3-1, and the whistle goes for halftime.
Yeah. Yep. It's a good play by Ames's number 10, right? Who had 2 goals on the day.
That's Zachary. I think it's Kuva.
The boy's been like
Kuva.
He was really good last year as well.
Yeah, I think it's Kuva.
He's kind of a clever little player. If you watch the clip, he just kind of gets a little toe on it and gets around a defender, kind of makes something out of nothing, and then he really sort of places it into the corner with the turf. Both of his goals, I feel like he just kind of uses the speed of the turf to make sure he scores and puts it out of the goalkeeper's reach. So that first goal is one that kind of comes out of nowhere, but it was huge for them. There was 6 minutes left in the half. If they go into the half 3-0 down, it's completely different than 3-1 with a little bit of momentum.
Was Benj on or off the field?
He was off.
So that was something we noticed, Blake, that Ankeny as a whole, their level dropped a little bit when he came off. It wasn't even... He's not like a loud, demanding personality, but every time they came off, the foot came off the gas as a team, and they gave up goals.
Why is he coming off the field?
He was getting treatment.
He got a yellow card at the end of the first half, and so that was why he came off there. And they probably, I would assume, they just said, okay, well, there's 5 minutes, go sit down, get a drink, and take a break.
Yeah, he was getting treatment.
And they got a little treatment in the second half. Yeah, he had like a.
I think he was getting treatment in the first half too, but. I mean, I could be wrong about that. I think it's 2 things. Maybe it's taking the foot off the gas, but I think just naturally when you have a player like that, it stretches the game in that other direction, right? And so it's something that Ames has to be worried about all the time is the threat for him to score. And when he's off, it drastically changes the game because that threat is gone.
I was going to say, even if he's not, quote, fully fit or 100%, they're accounting for him.
Right. Totally.
And behind whether they know it or not, or whether they know he's healthy or not, like,
yeah.
And I think if you go in at halftime, if there's one criticism that Coach McGowan's going to give his squad, it's like, guys, we know who Landon Benj is. He's not an unknown. So you have to be aware of him all the time. And they didn't do a great job of that in the first half. And I mean, still in the second half, how many times did we see Benj in one-on-one situations that we were like, oh my God, give him some cover?
Yeah.
Too many times.
Yeah. Too many times. So.
Okay, second half. What'd you think, Titan?
Well, so it's 3.5, and then so the next 2 goals, I think there's so many goals I lose track of them because there's 10 goals in total in this game.
Ben scores the 4th one to make it 4-1.
Yeah, so that's right. So the next 2 goals that are scored in the game, by the way, are off short goal kicks.
from Ames, where they and
No. One for
oh,
each
yeah,
team.
you're right.
One for each team. So
Well, Ames is the first one.
that's right. So
Sorry, Matt, can you give more detail to people? So when you say a short goal kick, you're saying the team that took the goal kick conceded because potentially as a result, they played a short.
that's exactly what happened. They tried to play it out of the back. So what happens in this goal is the ball is played short from the goalkeeper to the Ames player, and I'm going from memory here, so this might not be exact, but I think there's a couple of different passes. It then goes into the central midfielder. The central midfielder then
Facing his goal.
He's facing his goal. He's got probably 10 yards of space. If he just turns, he can go forwards. But instead, he played
flat square pass that's just picked.
Yeah, exactly. Picked off. And so then all of a sudden you score. So now I'm not saying that the decision to play out of the back was the reason why they scored, but this begs the question for me for all of these teams who are robotic in terms of playing out of the back every single time. The question is for me is just why? Because I don't.
You're saying this because you've been watching a lot of film too, and you see it. You're not just talking about Ames.
Yeah, right. Exactly, all over the place. On the girls' side, it's even more pronounced. And I'm just seeing goal after goal get scored when teams are trying to play out of the back. And I get it. It's you should absolutely play out of the back when it's on. But the decision to play a right-footed player as a left back at this level and expect that you are not going to have mistakes and concede goals, I think is unreasonable, is an unreasonable expectation of the players. And I don't necessarily think it's the player's fault. So this pass goes left, by the way. Now it ends up, coming into central midfield, but so it's just one of those. So, but that's, and I'm not even saying that about Ames, because the next goal is Ankeny trying to play out of the back.
Correct.
And then they get burned, and so there's a goal. So there's two goals that are playing out of the back. I'm sorry, if you're going to concede any goals at all in the season, you should be just kicking the ball as long as you can in goal kicks and go and winning it, and then keep possession or build in a different area of the field.
Well, and I think that, so in this clip that we're talking about, Ankeny is all the way up the field. So, when the ball goes short to the left center back, he's getting it on like the corner of the 6-yard box. Benj is at the top of the 18-yard box. So he's maybe 10 yards away. So you're just like, that's like shark in the water. If on the other hand, Ankeny said, you know what, let's drop off. And they've dropped to the half, like, yeah, let's play and get the ball up the field. I just think take a little time too, see if they drop off, right? Because everybody's so quick to play these days. They want to set it down and play. It's like, I don't know, fix your shin guards, adjust your gloves a little bit, and maybe hoof it. I don't know.
It's just interesting you talk about that, Matt, a little bit, right? Because naturally most players are right-footed. So usually, we've talked about it on the pod many times, left-sided players, just because of sheer numbers, are usually right-footed. And the number or the amount of teams that shape the ball to the left side is not proportional to what footed players are. Yeah. It's just interesting, I think.
And they don't receive it to play with their left foot.
Correct. They play with their inside foot, which is their right, their dominant foot, and
it just gets you into trouble every single time. So I don't. Again, that's not necessarily the example there, but it's a conceded goal off a goal kick, and it drives me nuts. It really does.
So 4-1, then it goes the other way, makes it 4-2 after Ankeny plays a short corner and gets punished.
Plays a short goal kick.
Yeah,
right?
sorry, yeah. Short goal kick gets punished. And then here we are, 4-2, and we kind of look at each other like, is this a game now? And it absolutely was. Ames banged another couple back. The third goal, I don't remember the third goal as well as I remember the fourth goal.
So the third one is an interception by Ames, but just almost to the midfield line, and then it gets played out wide to a guy who's just trucking down the sideline.
That's right.
Plays across behind,
zip it into the 15, right?
Cuts it back to
that's the cut.
10.
You're talking about the cutback goal.
Yeah. So I think what's really notable about this is this number 10. He sits him in the hole in midfield. He plays a little nice ball in the back, and then he just sort of wanders into the box at the last minute. He checks his run on the edge of the 6-yard box, controls it, and then puts it in the side corner. No one picks him up. No one picks up the runner. But it's really smart by him. Like he sits, he says, "Give it to me, feet." He does this kind of little flick, does enough. Ball gets played wide, and he just literally trots into the box unmarked.
Well, I think that's almost a good thing too, right? You hear all about people sprinting in the box. Well, he's literally delayed his run intentionally because he could sprint, and then he's going to get too far and then just stand. And he's kind of just got, like you said, got lost. Messi does this right often. They just kind of change the pace of their run. And
Good comparisons for you there, Kuva.
I love it.
The number 15 Christian, it's Galt. Man, eyes are getting bad. He's he's the run through the middle of the park, has the armband on, and he ends up scoring the volley to make it 4-3, and then scores the header to make it 4-4. So that center of midfield, or that spine of the team for Ames with him and little Kuva there, pretty talented little duo. I like the way they play. I'm sure Damian Corriere is going to be taking all sorts of credit for him. I'm just giving Damo a shout. What do you think, Steves? What else you got?
I don't know. I mean, we got to talk about the last. You want to talk about the last goal?
So it gets to 4. So let's talk about that goal to make it 4-4, where it gets recycled out. Great little ball back in. Ankeny not doing a great job clearing their lines.
Right. Yeah. So can I change the subject just a little bit?
Of course.
Yeah. So I want to make a point. So first of all, I think they're two actually pretty good goals. To make it 4-3, the ball gets crossed into the target player. He turns and scores a nice little finish. And then you've got the cross that you just mentioned. What I want to mention is number 7 for Ankeny. He's their center back. And the reason I want to mention him, I think he's wearing the captain's armband. But after the goal, he has some choice words for his teammates in terms of his opinion. We can't hear what he's saying, but his opinion of whether or not the ball should have been crossed in. And you can see him, he's very demonstrative, and he's actually shouting, and the left midfielder is talking to him as well. So that's number 7. There's a reason I'm mentioning that.
I know why you're mentioning it.
So
I like it.
Yeah, and so then now
He's got a point though too, right? Like I love it.
well, he's got a point, but so the ball gets crossed in. He's like, "Hey, dude, like stop the cross from coming in." Now, I think the problem
I
starts.
hope he said, "Hey, dude."
Yeah, I think he's saying something a little bit more,
Colorful.
yeah, colorful. Exactly. I also think that the problem here is actually that what happens is when the ball gets central, if you watch closely, there are 3 people that try and go to the ball. Once it goes to the Ames central midfielder player, one of their holding midfielder actually gets sucked all the way out, which leaves a lane open for number 10. So the ball gets crossed in. Now, I would also be a little critical of 7 here because I think he should have closed the ball before he shot it. But his point is well taken. The ball probably shouldn't have been crossed in. But I think it's an organizational issue.
He does get fired up, though.
Yeah. So that's the first one. So then if we go to the second, the next goal, it's another cross that comes in all the way across the box. Ames's winger crosses another one across the face of the goal. It doesn't get cleared. He does a little step over, crosses it in, and there's a guy who just fights for it, wants it more than the Ankeny player, and puts it in the back of the net. Then, though, if you watch 7 again, he's equally as upset with the player defending the cross and has some choice words for him as well. And he's throwing his arms in that direction as well. So, I don't know what type of relationship obviously he has with those players, but from a distance, and I hope it was sort of constructive in the way that that's the way they can respond to each other and they're used to that. But from a distance and then watching it back, I really like that because it shows so much passion, and it shows and I remember being a defender and having the heat on me in video sessions, watching these things where I'm like, hey, if there's pressure on the ball and that ball doesn't come in, I'm not being looked at. So, it's your job to make sure the cross doesn't come in. So I appreciate that perspective, but more than anything, I appreciate the desire and the passion, which I think is going to lead into the next point.
Of course.
But, unless you guys have more thoughts on that.
No. And then, so what, at that point, there's 7 minutes left, maybe, something like that. I mean, there's not a lot of time. And within a couple, Ankeny gets a corner down on the other end. And nice ball into the box to the back post. And number 7, Dylan, what's his last name? Gloviak. Dylan Gloviak. He's free header on the back post. Makes no mistake. They go up 5-4. And his celebration over in the corner right in front of us, I mean, he was like losing his mind in a great way. He was fired up, wasn't he?
Well, and we talked about this last week, right? With the Iowa City West, Dowling, like goalkeepers kind of judging the flight of balls is clearly a challenging issue because it's the same thing.
You can see here he gets caught on the near post, but then also when I'm looking, if I try to zoom in and like look at basically what's Ames doing, are they playing a man or a zone? It looks like they're maybe doing some sort of hybrid. Right, that's what I would guess.
The answer, if you can't tell, like unfortunately, that's what I would agree with you, Ben. No, like you don't know.
Yeah, but it does look like there's some man-to-man function here a little bit, right? Like they're at least trying to stay close to each other.
He's unmarked though. He's unmarked the entire time.
Correct. That's what I was going to say. Is if you look, no one ever picks him up. Yeah, no one ever picks him up. He's the center back, right? So, and if you just think of like a player profile, if you're going, okay, like who's going forward on a corner kick, it's like your 2 center backs, like maybe your center forward, maybe a big midfielder, but you're putting your size and your strength up there and putting pressure on the opposing team, and he's unmarked, like entirely unmarked,
Right.
and wheels away with a great celebration.
So I've got two different points. Blake, this is off of your comment about the goalkeeper, and I'm not a goalkeeper coach, but as I watch the goalkeeper's first movement,
it's like 3 steps forward.
There's a couple different things I see. Number one, the player on the post is blocking his line of sight to the ball, clearly. Right?
We talked about that, right? So Matt, if nobody listened, will you just give a quick rundown of how the near post?
It was Ben's point. Ben's like, you get inside the post, so you look through the net. And so then you're not in the goalkeeper's way, right?
Instead, they're both standing square to the to the.
So then,
corner.
So as the ball is kicked, the goalkeeper's first movement is forward towards the near post. Now he's done, right? The ball then is hit with enough pace where it comes in behind, and then the other piece, well, you guys mentioned, they're definitely defending zonally, but look at the player who is walking closest to the ball. As this ball is struck, he's still walking. He's just taking himself out of the play. There's not even a player, so I don't know what he's doing walking towards the ball. You see that guy? And then they're defending zonally with 2 other people. I think their 3 zonal guys have to step back. So that first guy should be near post, middle post, far post. And then all of a sudden, the guy in the back can probably win it. So I think their starting positions are wrong. But then also, 7 is he's not marked. He's literally never picked up.
If they're zonal, Damian and Ryan, like, here's your guys' tip. Like, look at those 3 guys zonally. The first guy's way in front of the near post.
Right.
The second guy's at the near post, and the third guy's in the center. So there's literally nobody in the back half of the goal. Well, so I don't know if, like, I'd be curious what they've actually trying to do.
Yeah, because the positive thing is it's great. Fixable, right? Yeah. Like, so fixable.
Yeah. I don't think you can discount the work that 7 for Ankeny does here, though. It's a really good leap, right? The goalkeeper still goes up for it, and he is up there. I mean, that's a pretty good vertical.
Yeah.
He's way up there.
I also think that,
and he heads it straight down to the corner.
Yeah, if you've ever been that free guy where all of a sudden you realize nobody's marking me, like you're like quietly kind of sneaking around, and then it's like he's done well to like let nobody see him, or you know what I mean. Like I'm sure there was a little bit of like he was just kind of closing his eyes and pretending nobody could see him. Right. Yeah. So they go 5-4.
They go 5-4, but like let's go back to the celebration because this is why I remember watching it, and I mean he was like arms out, just like screaming at the top of his lungs. It is like
to the point where like his voice cracked.
Oh, it definitely cracked. Yeah. But it was like all that sort of pent up emotion.
It was great.
And the frustration. The reason I liked it is because to me it said he was really frustrated with the way that they allowed Ames got back in the game, and he said, "You know what? I'm going to do it on the defensive end, and if I have to go win this game, I'm just going to go win it myself."
That's right.
And that's what he did. So I really like that. Hopefully he's a good captain and, he's just not berating those guys back there.
Well, I would just say listen
but-
to the boy. So we talk about
potentially,
this
yeah.
often, right? Listen, like you may agree or not, like listen. And then you can go hash it out at training or in the film, but like just listen to the guy when he tells you to either close it, force it right, force it left, drop it, listen, and then you can figure it out later.
Right.
Well, I think going 5-4 really took the wind out of the little cyclone, if you will. And then Cal, I'm going to forget his last name again, Cal Wahlberg makes it 6-4 with a great little solo goal. Beats a couple guys and beats the goalkeeper, and off they go, 6-4. When was the last time we saw a 6-4 game in the amount of time we've watched high school soccer?
I've never seen one.
Not even close.
I've never seen one in my life.
All right, so here you go, boys. We talked last week about the best boys player, maybe in the top class. I'll just throw it out there, impromptu a little bit. We saw Mendez play last week. We saw Fuentes play. Now you've seen Benj play.
I mean, different
Thoughts?
different players.
It doesn't matter. Like,
Oh, no,
thoughts?
I was
What are your
just-
thoughts?
That was my first thought. They're different players.
So I didn't see Fuentes. I've seen Mendez enough, I think, and some of the film on him and stuff like that. For me, it's Mendez over Benj. I really like Benj a lot, though, and I agree that they're just different types of players.
Them together would be trouble.
Yeah, I think Mendez is he's a little bit more complete of a player for me at this point in time, but I don't think he's got the. He is such a different type of player. I would like to see Benj be a little bit more like 2 or 3 dimensional than he was in the game. Like it was all stuff where he's just kind of hanging out, right, and looking for the ball into the space and playing it long, and he didn't necessarily come and get at feet quite a bit. So I didn't see him in that. And maybe he plays a little bit more like that. But I think against good teams, the way he played, they're going to figure out, not saying that Ames is not a good team, but I think if Ames play them again, they're going to play him differently. And so he would have to adapt his style a little bit. Now, maybe he was just doing what worked. So
That too.
But for me, it's Mendez still, but that's my opinion.
I'm excited to see some more teams play as well. But yeah, I think you're right. Benj could be stopped if you tried really hard if you put a lot of focus on it. I don't know. Stopping Mendez is like a totally different thing because he can just pop up anywhere.
Yeah. I think they've got different personalities too, like
Big
just
time.
people, right?
Yeah, it seems like it.
I mean, Mendez. I mean this in a very good way. He's probably one of the cockiest players out there. He's not short on confidence at all.
No.
Benj does his work much more quietly. At least that's what we think. And also, I mean, you said Fernando Torres, right?
He does. He's got a little Fernando Torres in him. He does. I like it.
We were calling him Fernando Benj at the game.
Benj, if you haven't watched some old Liverpool highlights of Fernando Torres, you better check it out. You'll
I said
enjoy
that's a
it.
compliment.
It is a compliment.
Like,
It's a big
I'm just
compliment.
curious if any of these kids know who
That's
Fernando
right,
Torres
exactly.
is.
Of course they do. He's
I
not
hope
that
so.
old.
I don't know. Evan knew, so I mean, if Evan knew, that's our barometer. All right, so 6-4. Blake, did you have enough time to research the other results from the Invitational?
Yeah, so just real quick, Johnston might be back. That'll be the question. One of the questions coming out of this. Millard West, I don't know how you, out of Omaha, been a traditional power.
Yeah.
They beat them 5-2 and then beat Sioux City North 8-1. Dowling beats Council Bluffs Lincoln 6-0. Big one, Waukee Northwest against Iowa City West, right? We were kind of talking to Sheffy a little bit. That was one, I think, on the radar. Again, like a cool big game in town.
We talked about going to that.
Yep, so the Northwest, I think Wolves beat the Trojans 1-0. And then Iowa City High, Fajardo, the boys did well, made the state tournament last year, right? They won 5-0 over Council Bluffs Lincoln. And then, like you guys alluded to earlier, Ames had to come back and play Dowling, and they lost 3-1. Valley wins 6-0 over Sioux City North, and then kind of just a head scratcher. I don't know, but Cedar Rapids Prairie, Kurt Lewis, they kind of been up and down, beat Northwest 1-0. And according to the Bound Power Rankings, Northwest at the time, I think due to Ames's loss, I don't know how it all works, but was number one. So Prairie 1-0 winners. So kind of a little bit of everything all over the place. I don't know what that means to you boys, but
Well, that was a little conversation on the sideline we had with a few different coaches of just like who's the best team, and everybody's kind of like, it just depends on the day. And I think that's what we saw this weekend. I think we've seen it a few times now in the past few weeks.
Wow. So you've got Johnston. So this is going to be a little off topic, but Johnston plays Ankeny on Tuesday the 22nd.
That's this week.
Then they play Iowa City West on Saturday the 26th. Then you got the Merlehead Cup on the 29th.
Kids Urbandale.
And then they've got Indianola, then Dowling on Friday the 2nd. And then they play Waukee Northwest again on the 6th. That's insane. And then Valley after that. Wow.
That's a tough little.
So when
little
you
run.
say Johnston is now 5-1-1, and so
They could be 5-1 here pretty soon.
this will be a really interesting next month.
Let's just talk about Iowa City West like super briefly, because you just keep mentioning they keep popping up and they're playing against Central Iowa teams. I mean, right now, like it seems like they're trying to book a game against every potential state tournament team that they could possibly get. I wonder if that's intentional or not, because sometimes you can end up like you never see Iowa City West until the state tournament. Well, now everybody's seen everybody.
I mean, you talk about that, Ben. So right now they're 1-4-1.
They were not a 1-4-1 team when we saw them play, were they?
I mean, you know who their win is against? Centennial, who's, again, like, you want to talk about the best player. Tate Duax is in that mix. Centennial's been a perennial power, but they lose to Valley. Liberty, Iowa City Liberty is in there. They lose to Dowling, and they lose to Northwest. So, again, like, make sense of it for me,
We had an off-the-record comment that from a coach that said that Valley...
Well, you can't make the comment if it's off the record.
It was off the record. It said that Valley was the best team they'd seen all year, which I'm always very quick to be skeptical of my Tigers, but I didn't expect to hear that. So we'll see.
I love that. Comment is off the record, but we just made it
That's right.
public.
What else? Well, slide into the DMs and let us know what game of the week should be this week. We've got our eyes all over the place. It might be time to see a girls' game. It might be time to check out a DMPS game. It might be time to check out a lower class game.
You know what?
2A,
Fayette Valley
3A.
just lost on the weekend as well.
Wow. To who?
So you'll have to
Check Bound.
Bound. There's the Bound plug.
I did see that they beat Cedar Falls, which is crazy. All right. Well, anyway,
Dubuque Hempstead's who they lost to, and then you got Dubuque Senior, right? Rothert. They're 4-1-1 or something like that. So with only 20. I won't say it all, but small roster.
Yeah. So unpaid plug here for Bound. Check it out, gobound.com if you're looking to follow all these results and the stats, see who's got the most goals potentially in the state or most assists, most wins, all that kind of fun stuff. And then we are also big fans of Huddle Fan. If you're trying to watch games or keep up, that's a good place to go. What else you got, Siebes?
That's it.
Titan?
End it for us.
Well, I think that's about it. Should we say we've got a new sponsor, or is that just going in the credits?
What do you think?
Should we say?
Oh, let's play of the week. Oh,
We got a new Play of the Week sponsor. Keep our Player of the Week this
check
week.
it out. Yeah, so
Get
there
those-
you go.
Yeah, right on.
I'll say it's Pep's Pizza.
That's right.
Get there.
See you guys.